every word, every act. His assurance and His love. Why fear when I am here, He said. For every devotee, He is here, there, and everywhere. Painfully guiding every step like a dance teacher. As the bud blossomed to reveal 1,000 petals, it can only be said that the fragrance of the first few years is unique.
Many times we ask many things from Swami. We should pause and ponder whether we are ready to receive it, actually. I remember a lecturer narrating this episode of a lady who kept asking Swami for moksha. She said, Swami, give me moksha. Swami, give me moksha. And Swami says, wait. Swami, give me moksha, wait. So this went on. This became like almost a standard question and answer. Swami, I want moksha, you wait. One day when she said, Swami, I want moksha, Swami said, yes, come right now into the interview room. She said, just a minute, Swami, my husband, I have to tell him, my children. When we ask the Lord, Swami says, unlike the human photographer who says, ready, smile and shoot, the divine photographer will click anytime. You have to be ready every moment. So it is not as if what I seek, I should get it on my terms. That is what happened even to this earliest family, The brother and sister of Karanam Kamalamma, that is, one is P.V. Krishnamurti, the other is Sarojamma. They had invited Swami to come home. And Swami actually came home. How it happened was very, very interesting. It was one fine morning in Bangalore at Chamarajpet. This is the map of Bangalore. The old Bangalore, which was 1/4 the size of what it is today. And yeah, these are all the different places that Swami visited. Baswangudi, Cavalry Road, Chamarajpet, Commercial Street, JC Road, Lalbagh, Magadi, Malleshwaram, Mavalli, Richmond Road, Sheshadripuram, Alsur, Vishweshwarpuram. But the first visit was to Chamarajpet, the third name in that list. And Swami came along with one of the brothers of Karanam Subbamma. Karanam Kamalamma had come to Bangalore at that time. She was staying at the place of Shanta. Shanta is the daughter of Narayan Sharma. At Narayan Sharma's home, Karanam Kamalamma was staying. And suddenly at around 10:30 in the morning, they hear a knock on the door. They open the door and Swami is standing there. And he says, you told me to come, right? I have come. Oh my God, Swami told you to come. You should tell some message and so we'll make welcome arrangements here. Then you came off. See, that is the thing. When we seek from God, are we ready to receive as per God's terms? There was a train which arrives at Penukonda at 1:30 in the morning. He has caught that train and landed up at Bangalore railway station, taken a horse cart and arrived here at 10:30 now. And the house was in shambles. So the first time Swami is visiting this home, what they told is, Swami, just stand there for 10 minutes. Rushed into the home, cleaned it up, made everything fine and welcomed Swami in. Now when a guest comes, Swami has come, the Lord has come, you want to feed the Lord. That day they had not cooked anything. In fact, Shanta, the daughter, says that since they had not cooked anything, they had gone to a nearby hotel and got parcel 2 masala dosas. So Swami comes in and they open that paper and they offer that masala dosa to Swami. What to do? Swami did not have a bed or a cot. Swami slept on the floor for a few days. And then within a day or two, somehow people will get to know that Swami is here. And they start coming. Everybody wonders, how is this? In some cases, it has been where Swami has gone to the dream of the devotee and said, I am staying at this home, you come on now, I come to Bangalore. There was no place for darshan. They would keep a table outside and Swami would stand on the table and give darshan. That was how the first few trips were. And another thing that Bhagwan began at this point in time was to write letters to all these devotees. In fact, this family, Shanta, she used to say that Swami used to write to them twice a week. Swami sent a letter saying that there is some negative planetary influence on this home. Change your home. Well, all these are part of the drama. Swami is the person who has said when you have God's anugraha, nothing of the Navagraha can touch you. But here he is telling there is some negative planetary influence, so you move out of the home. It is like Swami saying, when Swami says, even if the whole universe conspires against, it has to happen. And that same Swami is saying that this is Rahu Kalam, let us not go now. It's all part of the drama. And everything has a message. The next time the letter came, it had a stronger message saying that it is not good for Narayan Sharma to stay in this home. And before they could realize, that same evening, Narayan Sharma breathed his last. And when it was very interesting the way he breathed his last also. That shows Swami's blessings. They say the way a man ends his life shows the way the man has led his life. This was a pendant which was attached to the Rudraksha Mala that Swami had materialized for Narayan Sharma. On one side there is Hanuman, on the other side there is Shirdi Baba. He put this pendant into his mouth and washed that pendant with that glass of water, drank that water, and with a smile on his face, chanting Swami's name, he passed away. Within 2 days of his passing away, Swami visited their home and Swami said, I have promised you that I will be a son. So for the first year, every month, Swami made it a point to come, bless their home, and many times he received the offerings himself. And till the end, Swami was there as he had promised, supportive as a son to this family that had lost Narayan Sharma.
Shirdi Baba would often say, when people would ask, Baba, why are you living like this in a broken masjid? Why are you wearing tattered robes? He would often say, this is what my devotees can give me now. I'm accepting it happily. When they can keep me in a palace, I will live there happily. This is precisely what Swami was doing here. If you can give me only a masala dosa which you ordered from the shop next door, I happily accept it. And the day will come when the royalty will invite him to the palace, as we would see. Even that Swami went with the same grace, accepted with the same love. As we said, Swami was actually staying at Shamanna's house. That was the brother-in-law of Karnam Kamalamma. And even he was not a very well-off person otherwise. Swami, the story goes that he actually borrowed the car of his boss to invite Swami and take Swami around. So Swami was visiting Narayan Sharma's house off and on. Opposite Narayan Sharma's house, one of his juniors was staying in a house there. His name was Jagannath Rao Naidu. So he noticed this strange looking boy, he comes every now and then, and there is so much of halla gulla happening every time he comes. So he gets a bit curious and he asks this Narayan Sharma, who is this person who is visiting your house so often and your whole house becomes festive whenever he comes? So they tell him, this is a very strange boy from Puttaparthi, he does all miracles, he cures people. Actually, this Jagannath Rao does not have really any agenda to go to Swami, but he thinks that, okay, my sister-in-law is having asthma. Why not go and ask Swami? Let's go visit him, and in the course of that visit, why not ask Swami to cure the sister-in-law who is having this very severe attack of asthma every now and then. So he expresses this to his wife, and his wife tells him that, why not we invite Swami home? So now he becomes our guest, so he's obliged to answer our prayer, almost like that maybe. So they decide, so Jagannath Rao Naidu, he goes to his brother-in-law, Nasim Rao Naidu. So both of these brother-in-laws, they go to Swami. So the next morning they invite Swami. Swami, this is the thing, we would be very happy if Swami comes to our house. And Swami says, why not? Why not for lunch today? Imagine that. So these two rush back home. They have to tell that you need to prepare things. Swami is coming just today for lunch. And throughout this visit of Swami, they're going on telling Swami, this sister-in-law, she's having asthma. And Swami is saying, let's see. It's almost like that's just an alibi. I have used that as an opportunity to come to you. Don't talk about that. Then Narasimha Rao Naidu, he invites Swami to the house. And Swami says, why not? And a couple of days later, he goes to that house. Says, Swami, you can stay tonight. We can do bhajans. Oh, that's a very good idea. Let's stay tonight and let's have bhajans. So 6:30 to 9, they have bhajans. There are no bhajan singers. So Swami is the lead singer. The first 24-hour Akhanda Bhajan was held in this house, in Narasimha Rao Naidu's house. Swami started one evening and ended next evening. But that was not the only Akhanda Bhajan. Every time Swami would come to this house, Swami would have at least a 12-hour Akhanda Bhajan. And that was at least twice a trip. That is, as soon as Swami comes, there will be a 12-hour Akhanda Bhajan. The day Swami leaves, there will be a 12-hour Akhanda Bhajan. So this almost became like the first bhajan center outside Puttaparthi. And when there is bhajans, bhajans attracts people. So during the bhajans which were held in this house, a lot of other devotees who would become very prominent contributors to Swami's mission started visiting. Trivenkatam Swami Mudalyar, he was one of the earlier devotees. Then there was Navneetam Naidu, he was an excise commissioner. We will be talking about him shortly. And another very, very important devotee, his name was Tirumal Rao. I don't know what fortune this devotee has done. Swami has written innumerable letters to him. Like the endearing letters we write to Swami, Swami wrote to him. And probably if the chance comes, we will go into some of those letters. But some of these devotees came to Swami through this bhajans in this house. This was in the early 1944. And Swami started visiting this house every 2 months. Every 2 months, all the way from Puttaparthi, Swami would come to Bangalore.
Whatever the devotee does to the Lord also reciprocates. Just as both these, Narasimha and Jagannath, both of them, as they were inviting Swami home and hosting him, Swami said, "Why don't you come along with me to Puttaparthi? I will host you there." They were friends. So they said, "Okay, Swami, when?" Swami said, "Now." "Now, yes, come." Took them to the railway station, got into the Guntakal Express, Guntakal Mail or whatever it was, and that is how they traveled to Puttaparthi. And then Swami arrives. He was staying at that time at Karnam Subhamma's home, in that small room. He tells Karnam Subhamma that I've got guests. Karnam Subhamma, the great devotee, she says, "Yes, Swami, your guests are my guests. Yes, they can stay." So that is how Jagannath Rao Naidu and Narasimha Rao Naidu both stay with Swami. The next morning, Swami takes them around Puttaparthi. He says, "See, this is the river, this is Chitravati." So now there is no water, but actually when it rains, water will come. In fact, he digs 1 foot from the sand and he says, "See, it's wet there, there is water." So it is there below the surface, it has to come out. He takes them to the nearby village Janakampalli, which is about 3 kilometers from here. They wander through the fields and Swami says, "This is high quality, very good sugar cane, come." There he knows the farmer over there. Jaggery is being made, makes them make the juice, sugarcane juice, and they drink. They're all very, very happy. They're hosted there, very happy. And so, Swami was like a friend with these two brothers-in-law, I mean. In fact, Jagannath Rao Naidu's son, this is Haranath, little Haranath. There's something called Aksharabhyasa, where you initiate the child into learning. So Swami would often do that by holding the child's hand and making him write Om. This was possibly the first Aksharabhyasa that Swami did. Swami held little Haranath's hand and made him write Om, initiated him. Prem mentioned about Navneetam Naidu. He was the excise commissioner and he got pulled towards Swami because of his wife. She told, "I want to be with Swami," and he said, "See, you do whatever you want with your Swami, leave me out of all this." She said, "Okay." So she, her children, her mother's side, her uncles, everyone she's pulling in. But her husband has not got in. In fact, an invitation is extended to Swami and Swami lands up at Navneetam Naidu's house and he says, "Arre, in my home you're doing bhajan." So when bhajan is going on, he goes out of the house. "You finish all those activities, then I'll come back." And late in the night, Swami retires and Swami has gone in, locked the room. Then Navneetam Naidu comes back home. It's almost 11 o'clock in the night. He just has a quick dinner. He's about to go to bed. When he's about to go to bed, the door opens and Swami walks out. Swami says, in Bombay, he names one hospital. Unfortunately, while narrating this, the devotee had forgotten the name of the hospital. So he mentions one hospital, mentions the patient's name, and mentions a problem which had to be solved through surgery. And he says that doctor was not able to do it, so I had to go and do it and come. It was very tiring. Now I'll go back and rest. And Navneetam Naidu is hearing all this and he says, "What is this person speaking?" And Swami goes back into the room. Now, Navneetam Naidu, being an excise commissioner, it's a big post. He was one among the few in Bangalore who owned his own telephone at home in 1940s. It was a great thing to own a telephone. So he had a telephone and he booked a call to that hospital and asked for that patient. Gave the name, the name that Swami had said. And they informed that this patient has undergone an intense surgery, which seemed to be unsuccessful, but it became successful in the last minute. The next day the family is going to come and take the patient. Now the patient is sleeping peacefully. And that, when he heard that, what his wife's entreaties could not do for so many weeks, with that one experience, the next morning when Swami came out of the room, Navneetam Naidu was the first to go and fall at his feet and said, Swami, I surrender. Navneetam Naidu became so enamored with Swami that he felt he wanted to gift Swami something unique. And he gifted Swami a dog. After that, many other devotees also gifted dogs to Swami, but Navneetam Naidu was the first to gift this to Swami, and Swami kept this dog possibly till it breathed its last.
As Arvind was saying, many different ways many devotees were drawn. And one classic way which we are seeing is Swami goes to somebody's house, the neighbor sees, the neighbor's friend sees, the neighbor's friends, relatives come. But the task was large, right? You cannot go on like this. You need to step up the pace too. In a place called Karur, it's a town which is still there. It's right now in Tamil Nadu. Even in those days, it was not in this state. In this town of Karur, one lady who is suffering from a very intense allergic disorder, nobody is able to cure it. This lady, she suddenly gets a dream one day. She sees this strange boy who's wearing probably a striped shirt and a dhoti. An aura around his head. He's looking so very different from all the people she's always seen. There's a glow which is so attractive, but he is seated on a coiled serpent. So she sees this vision, and this boy tells her, come to Puttaparthi, I'll cure you. And imagine, she wakes up in Karur. Where is this Puttaparthi? What is this place? She starts inquiring around, and I'm sure it would have taken a lot of time to figure out that there is a place called Puttaparthi in this particular region in Anantapur, and there is a boy who is doing such things. So finally she decides that I should go and pay a visit. And she comes, and to be of company to her, her brother comes from Madurai. And that brother was Subramanyam Chettiar, a devotee who started the Paduka festival later. And all these beautiful ornate thrones which we see of Swami, that throne which is there in the bhajan hall, the golden chariot which we so wonderfully used to enjoy when Swami used to come on it, the statues inside the bhajan hall, the Subramanya statue, the Gayatri statue, the Hanuman statue which we see in the mandir, all of those were given by this yeoman devotee of Swami, Subramanya Chettiar. And that's how he came. You know, as Arvind was saying, different people come in different ways. So this was one family which was drawn by a single dream. But there was another interesting man, and he was drawn in an interesting way. His name is D.R. Narayanappa. And what was he? He was selling flowers in Bangalore. So he suddenly realized that he observed a pattern. And suddenly some days, everybody was buying more flowers. Everybody was buying more garlands. So he was wondering, who is this person who seems to be increasing my business every time? So he asked one of his customers, why do you buy so many flowers every day, once in a few months? So then he said, no, there is a person who has come from Puttaparthi. He is Sai Baba. He's a miraculous young boy. And we all take flowers to offer to him. So he becomes very curious and he says, can I also come and see him? Of course, he's staying in our house. So immediately he picks a garland from his own shop, jumps into the car along with this couple, and he comes to Swami. And when he comes to Swami, he is immediately attracted to the appearance of this young lad who is definitely not human. And Swami materializes a vibhuti and puts it on his forehead. And the moment Swami touches that vibhuti, he feels a certain amount of spiritual magnetism. And that draws him to Swami. And Swami also tells him that come to Puttaparthi. So this person, he's a florist. So what does he do? He takes some other florists with him. So his friends. So few florists come to Puttaparthi along with him. A group of about 5 friends. So they all come, and again, just like the other two whom we spoke about, Narasimha Rao and Jagannath Rao, they're also Swami's age. So they also become like close friends. They come to Swami, and Swami takes them around. A very beautiful incident that he narrates is Swami takes them to Chitravati, and Swami digs and brings out hot Mysore pak, right? So hot, fragrant Mysore pak dripping with ghee. Swami gives it to all these 5 people. And they eat it, and what do they say? Swami, this is Gundappa Mysore pak. There is a hotel called Gundappa Hotel. I think it's still there in Bangalore. It's very, very famous for that particular sweet. And he says, Swami, this is Gundappa Mysore pak. And Swami says, yes, I got it from there only, just for you. So that is one incident. And then Swami takes them to the Kalpavriksha, the tamarind tree, which still stands there. And Swami plucks mangoes from there. And they're all Swami's age. So they all climb onto the tree and they search, where is the mango? Where is the mango? But Swami has to just put his hand up and the mango comes. And these wonderful incidents which is happening, they're just having a nice picnic because they've come, there are no family, they've just come as 5 youngsters. They cook their own food. And he says that Swami was very, very fond of hot tomato spicy rasam. The spicier it was, the more Swami would eat it. So they nicknamed Swami Gojju Swamilu, it seems. Gojju is a particular dish which they make in the Telugu people would know.
A sour dish.
A sour dish. And Swami was so fond of it, so they started calling Swami Gojju Swamilu. And Swami was doing small things to show them that he was protecting them. He cures one of them, and one of the people there, Swami tells him that, right now there's a burglary happening in your house. You've left your house and come. Right now there's a burglar at your house. Then he panics. Swami says, don't worry, I've ensured that he cannot find anything. So needless to say, he goes back, he sees that his house is broken into, but everything is intact. So some small things like this. So this group is another group which came in those early years and were drawn to Swami.